Hello, everybody. This is Destiny Huachigo, and this is the reading for Esther chapter 5, verse 9 through 13. Haman's rage against Mordecai. Haman went out that day happy and high in spirits. But when he saw Mordecai at the king's gate and observed that he neither rose nor showed fear in his presence, he was filled with rage against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman restrained himself and went home. Calling together his friends in Zeresh, his wife, Haman boasted to them about his vast wealth, his many sons, and all the ways the king had honored him and how he had elevated them above the other nobles and officials. "And that's not all," Haman added. "I'm the only person Queen Esther invited to accompany the king to the banquet she gave, and she has invited me along with the king tomorrow. But all this gives me no satisfaction as long as I see that Jew Mordecai sitting at the king's gate."
How's it going, family? For those of you guys that don't know me or don't remember me, my name is Alvin, and I'm a really good friend of your guys' pastor, Humphrey. Humphrey, thank you so much, brother, for giving me this opportunity once again to speak. I love you, man, and I can't wait to see you soon. And I'm just unbelievably blessed to take part in this your guys' new series. And I'm just so excited. It is such an honor, such a pleasure. And with that being said, the title of my sermon today is "What a Fool," which I think ties perfectly. I know it's an interesting title, but I think it ties perfectly into what we're going to talk about briefly, which is today's day and age of distractions. Whether that consists of video games, that consists of what's going on in the community, that consists of just technology, whether it's like your phone or TV, and like that consists of TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, things like that, right? And I just think that's amazing because it's all about those all things tie into temptation and just how much attention you want to give to it. And with that going on, we are going to go through the book of Esther today, just a little bit. The book of Esther, if you've never heard of it, it's only 10 chapters. I recommend you read it. It is one of my favorite books in the Bible for many reasons, but one specifically, which I think is really, really interesting, is that God is not mentioned once in this book. And I know that's super weird because it's like in the Bible, and it's like, shouldn't God be mentioned in like every book in the Bible, right? And once you read the book, you come to realize that like, even though God is not mentioned in this book, he's working behind the scenes throughout the entire book, and you'll understand why in just a little bit. But in this book, we have four main characters. We have Mordecai and Esther, who just go through a bunch of trials and tribulations together. We have Haman, who is the main antagonist, and then we have the king. In this book, Mordecai became very, very fond of the king, and Mordecai kept climbing the scale as far as what was happening in their area at the time. Haman felt threatened by this, and he was jealous, so he planned Mordecai's assassination. When Esther, Mordecai's husband, found out about this assassination attempt against her husband, she hosted a dinner between herself, Haman, and the king, where she let the king aware of what was happening during this time. The king then grew very angry at Haman and ordered Haman's murder. Not murder per se, but ordered Haman to be killed. Haman essentially plotted his own death at that point because he just grew so jealous and pointed his hand against the man of God. Mordecai was just an honest man trying to live his life, and Haman tried to ruin that for him. Now, despite all of their temptations, Mordecai and Esther are actually put forward as models of trust and hope when things get really bad. And that's exactly why this is one of my favorite books in the Bible, because despite all the temptation, even though God is not mentioned at all in this book, throughout the rest of the Bible, there are obvious books and verses that you can go to when things come as far as temptation, that God tells you what to do. But in this book, there was no mention of God at all. Mordecai and Esther were essentially on their own, and yet they were still living a godly way. They were put forth as models of trust and hope, which is exactly what I try to be to people. I try to be that model of trust and hope for them. There's an entire book in the Bible where two people underwent temptation, and essentially they're the same as us, as we go through temptations every single day. With that being said, that leaves me with the question of how you choose to avoid them, if you do. Don't be a fool.